You call your dog, and they respond, not instantly but close enough that it feels normal. They move toward you, fall into position, and everything looks exactly the way it always has. But something small has already changed, and most people never notice it when it happens. That change starts before anything looks wrong. Because the shift does not start with disobedience or ignoring you. It does not start with your dog walking away or refusing a command. It starts in a moment so subtle that it feels easy to dismiss. A moment where your dog stops checking in before they move. Watch closely the next time your dog changes direction or adjusts their position. There is usually a brief glance toward you, quick and almost automatic. It is not hesitation and it is not uncertainty. It is alignment. That glance is your dog confirming something before they act. It is a silent reference point that tells them where you are in that moment. Most owners never notice it because it happens so quickly. But your dog relies on it more than you think. Now imagine that moment disappears completely without you noticing it. The movement still happens and the behavior still looks correct. But the glance is gone and your dog begins to act without referencing you first. That is where the shift truly begins. At first nothing feels wrong and everything still appears to work. Commands still get a response and routines still seem stable. But something underneath has already started to change. The decision is no longer built around you. This is where most people get confused because they are waiting for obvious signs. They expect disobedience or resistance to show up first. But the real change happens long before any of that appears. It happens quietly in those small unnoticed moments. Your dog begins to rely on their own interpretation instead of checking yours. Small movements happen without that quick glance back. Small decisions are made without referencing you first. And those moments begin to stack over time. As those moments build, the pattern becomes clearer if you pay attention. Your dog starts acting faster but less connected to you. The movement looks confident but feels slightly different. The alignment that used to exist begins to fade. Now watch what happens during a walk when everything should feel natural. Your dog used to glance back at you before changing pace or direction. It was subtle and easy to miss, but it kept everything connected. That connection begins to disappear. Then one day the movement continues without that glance at all. Your dog adjusts speed or direction without checking in first. The walk still looks normal from the outside. But something about it feels slightly off. That difference is not about control or obedience at all. It is about reference and where you sit in your dog's awareness. Once that reference begins to fade, everything else starts to follow. And it happens without any obvious signal. Your dog is constantly building a map of the environment around them. They are deciding what matters and what does not in every moment. When you are no longer part of that immediate reference point, your position changes. Not visibly at first, but internally. Now this is where it becomes more noticeable to you. You call your dog and there is a pause before they respond. It is not confusion and it is not distraction. It is a moment of internal decision. That pause did not appear randomly out of nowhere. It is built from many small moments where your dog stopped checking in first. Moments that seemed insignificant at the time. But together they created a shift. Most people try to fix this at the surface level. They repeat commands or try to increase intensity to regain attention. But the issue is not the response itself. The issue is the moment before the response. Because once the check-in disappears, the decision becomes independent. And once the decision becomes independent, the response is no longer automatic. It becomes something your dog chooses to give. And that changes everything. Now watch your dog in stillness when nothing is happening around you. When there are no commands and no expectations placed on them. This is where the truth shows itself most clearly. This is where the relationship reveals itself. Does your dog reference you without being asked in those quiet moments? Do they glance toward you before shifting position or changing direction? Or do they move freely without ever checking in at all? That answer tells you everything. Dogs that are still aligned do not need commands to stay connected. The check-in happens naturally without effort. It is built into how they move through the environment. It is part of their awareness. But when that disappears, the relationship begins to change underneath everything. There is no sudden break and no obvious turning point. Just a gradual shift in how decisions are made. And that is why most people miss it. They are looking for the moment where something goes wrong. But the real moment already happened much earlier. It happened in a way that was almost invisible. And that is why it matters. The second your dog stops checking in, something has already changed. Not on the surface where you can easily see it, but underneath everything that still looks normal. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it.